Webster defines a journey as traveling from one place to another. But in Journey to the Overland, you will do a lot more than just travel. From the moment your character leaves his hometown, you'll begin to experience the encounters and adventures that could only take place in Journey to the Overland. Whether you're new to fantasy gaming or an old role-playing veteran, you'll feel right at home, yet uncomfortably new to the world of Overland. Far more than a board game, but not quite role-playing, Journey to the Overland combines the best elements of each. Set in a world where sorcery, magic, and might are the greatest powers, and surviving is the only law, Journey to the Overland gives you what the other games won't: a chance to tackle it all alone. With its unique encounter cards, various scenarios, and extensive use of non-playing characters, you have everything you need to enjoy hours of travels and adventures. But the only way to truly appreciate the commitment and dedication that went into this game is to grab your favorite figure, grab the dice, and start playing. Welcome to a way of gaming you will never leave, because once you begin it, there's no returning from. A journey to the Overland. Previously on Journey to the Overland. Having been joined by an experienced thief named Eli, Maverick and Eli set out from the environs of Dwarftown, heading toward the royal breakfast at King's Castle. Without getting very far, they encounter a female ranger and warrior calling herself She-Queen Venera. Unable or unwilling to face the female warrior alone, Eli flees and meets up with Maverick, where they bed down for the night to prepare once again to set out in the morning. Hey, welcome back everybody to the next installment in the Journey to the Overland series. So as you might have seen in the recap as from last week's session, we pick up with Maverick and Eli following their battle with the She-Queen Venera, or at least their encounter didn't actually turn into a battle when Eli fled. I did replace the Eli miniature, and I'll show you the one I'm using today. So I think this is actually a Frostgrave sculpt, but I kind of like the guy and his equipment, so I decided to use him as the thief. I thought the other guy was a little bit old looking to kind of be running with Maverick, so they're going to be called Maverick and Eli now. Anyway, when we left off last week, we were trying to decide whether or not to go into town and pick up supplies with the gold. I think they have like 72 pieces of gold between them, or whether to make their way to King's Castle, hunt, and see what kind of gold or things they could pick up along the way. They are both in the same hex. They did get joined up in the last game, so that's good. Even though I have the figure behind him, they're now traveling together, so I don't have to worry about that if they have any encounters. I will show you something I did pick up that I ordered over the on eBay, and this is a life counter for role-playing games. Now, what I'm going to use it for instead of a life counter is a wound counter, because the main reason I wanted it so I'm not doing a lot of erasing on my character sheet. So that's one of the problems when you have a game like this where you have a lot of combat and stuff going on. You know, you can kind of wear out your character sheet, as you can see here. So it's kind of, it's kind of getting grooves and things in there. So what the life counter will do is it will allow me to keep track of wounds, and I don't have to constantly do this. So all I will have to do at the end of the game is mark how many wounds he has at the end of that game session. So that'll be a big help. And I'm hoping to get one later on, maybe to track some other stats. Right now, for example, to track their food supplies, I'm using these kind of counters here. So that lets me know right just by looking at them that they only have 3 days food. So that can kind of also help me with my decision making as to what I'm going to be doing. But if you see me changing this is 28. He has 28 wounds right now. So that's kind of what I'm going to keep track of Maverick's wounds as they go up and down. So we showed you guys all of that. We are on day 7 of week, actually it's week 30. We finished day 6. So let me read what we had from day 6 for you. And it says, Eli reported encountering a female ranger named She-Queen Venera on his way to meet up with me. And even though she was anxious to fight to the death, Eli evaded to make his way to my location, and she chose to let him go. So there you see, he's basically indicating that Eli has joined up with him. Now, what I have showing as the event for this week is this Royal Breakfast card. So that will be out and in play. And what I had showing for the weather, the last card that was pulled, was this hurricane, which really was not going to impact them much either way. So the first thing I think we're going to need to do is check the weather for day 7, and then we will decide what they are going to do. So I don't know if I'm going to shuffle these yet. I think it's been a couple of games, but last game I only played maybe 1 or 2 turns. So I'm just going to leave these as they are. Let's see what the weather is for today. So there's a blizzard. So if you travel on land, you -1 from movement. No air is possible. -10 from your ability in combat. You roll for troop losses. So that, now, if we're -1, I think the best thing is going to be to do then is to get into Dwarf Town to get our supplies and see what we can do from there. I have 12 gold. He has 3 gold. There is a blizzard going on outside right now, so let's see if we can get some sound effects for that. And we can kind of hear. Don't know if you guys can hear that in the ambient background. So I think what we're going to do then, if we're going to go into Dwarf Town, we're going to roll to see whether or not we have an encounter. And I've been using that as open land, since most of the town is located in open land. So that will affect what I need to roll to see whether we have an encounter or not. I'm using my cheat sheet here, the percent encounter table, and you can get these cheat sheets at Cheatography. This is where I put them up at, and they're free. So it says if you are in open plains, there's a 75%. So we're gonna make that roll. I am going to use my black and white dice today. I'll use the white as the 10. So let's see what we get. 79. I don't know if you've seen that. So that means we do not have an encounter. So we will be able, or Maverick and them will be able to get into the town without having any kind of encounter. So that is going to make a huge difference. We get to move 1 because of the blizzard. We can't move more than that. We bring our food with us. So I am going to look at getting them some lodging, buying some more food, maybe a few supplies, and then I will be back. Okay, a little bookkeeping later, although it's actually much later as far as to time when I wanted to make sure I got everything right. But I will go over what I did real quick. So we had 72 gold pieces. I bought 12 days supply of food for 3. So we can feed 3 people with our food supplies. I bought a lantern so we can finally travel on days when it's foggy or something. As I think there's one you can travel with the lantern. I bought 2 mountain ropes, but I actually wound up having to buy 5 because 3 of them were junk. So I kept reselling them and buying another one, which that really ate up some of our gold. But finally I got one that was 91% and one that was 80% because we're very close to the mountain. So if we get lost or go that way, you know, we've got the mountain rope. Even if we want to cut across there, that's kind of a huge thing when going through the mountains. Paid for our lodging. So basically, I think Eli has about 3 gold pieces left. I have about 8. Oh, and I also bought some leather armor, which was really the only armor I could afford. Really doesn't offer much, but not leather. Actually, I couldn't afford the leather. I got the padded cloth. So it absorbs 3, maximum 12. It was only 20 gold pieces, but I just wanted to get some kind of armor on me. I mean, if I'm fighting somebody with a spear that does 7 damage, even the 3 will absorb almost half of that. So we are going to be starting a new week. So I do need to get a new event card out for the week. I'm not going to shuffle those. No new weather card. I'm not going to shuffle these. We are starting a new 2-week period. It is not the end of the month, so we don't have to roll for the dragon. Okay, so what is the event this week? The tournament. The king is hosting his annual royal tourneys to reveal the best knight in the land. All knights have, does that say 20 days to reach King's Castle and enter? The cost is 50 gold. The king's first, second, and third knight will be there participating until one is unconscious. Wow. Wow. Well, I am not a knight, so none of that is going to apply to me and my character. So let's just see what the weather is. So it's strong winds. Roll on the random direction. If you travel in that direction, you can add 2 to your movement. Now that might actually be helpful. So let's see. We wrote a 10. I think I have that table in here somewhere. Random direction table. I think, what is a 10? It's probably north, I think, which we're kind of heading north. I'm thinking of going to Morsh Monastery. Where's that? The random direction table. Where's that at? All of these charts. Experience points, encounters, shields, hand weapons, random direction. So a 9 or 10 is if we go south. We could add 2, which means if we go down this way, we could actually add 2 to our movement. So we could actually move 4 hexes going that way. Of course, because that's going through the mountains, we'd have to cut our speed anyway, but probably not going to use that. I don't think I'm going to be going south. I do appreciate getting that result, but I don't think it's going to apply to us. We have strong winds, so I will leave the ambient there. Maverick still has 28 wounds. We did not rest. We only paid for 1 day lodging, 1 day's lodging, so we didn't really have time to stay there and hang around. So I will roll for an encounter. Yeah, this should be updated to 12. Let me see if I have something. I doubt if I have one that says 12. But I can add up a couple. So yeah, we'll do a 10 and a 2. So that will let me know that we have 12. So that will be our food gauge for the present. And it'll only go down 1 because these are units that can feed 3. So what I decided, I will read you my journal entry of what I decided we are going to do next. And that's right here. It says, despite a fierce blizzard, Eli and I made it back into Dwarftown, where we bought some much needed supplies and purchased lodging for the night. Tomorrow, at the start of a new week, we set out for Morsh Monastery. Maybe I will find my destiny there. So Maverick has decided to head to the monastery. It's the best place to heal at. If you rest and heal at the monastery, you heal 5 wounds a day. He can also try to get an audience with the father of the monastery, and see if the father has some news information for him. There's even a thing where he could maybe try to become one of the warrior monks. So we will see when he gets there, if they make it there. First, let's roll for an encounter, which I think is 75% heading out in open land. So he rolled an 87, which you can't see, but you're going to have to take my word for it. Oh, I'll show it to you. So that's the 87 that he rolled. So they do not have an encounter, which is actually good. So they can move very quickly 2 hexes, which would be 1, 2, which would be enough to get them there. So without having an encounter, that will go by fairly quickly. They will eat some food, which will take their food count down to 11. And then I think they are going to keep moving, and hopefully their luck will hold out. Their luck will hold out as far as having good weather and making good time. So we will be back. Okay, so I had to get a fresh character sheet. I'm burning through these encounter sheets. So the next thing, we're going to do is check the weather for day 2. Let's move to see if we can move pretty quickly here. Holy cow, a blizzard? Not just do a blizzard? Let me check the bottom of this thing. Strong winds, blizzard. Yeah, so it's a different one. So we have another blizzard, which is going to reduce our movement from 1 by 1. So, man, that makes for a slow go. We could get there. Yeah, well, let's keep moving. We'll check for an encounter again, 75%. I wrote a 43, so we do have an encounter. Let's see what that is. Ho! An orc. 75 gold. He's 2 hexes away. This huge orc warrior will only join you if you are an apprentice of Mordecai, or an enemy of the king and his knights. He is a 60% warrior. If you are a knight, he will attack automatically. If not, he charges 100 gold for any kill and will work at night. Refuse or failure to pay at any time and he will attack you and fight to the death. So it looks like we are going to be fighting an orc, which I have no problem with. Okay, so I have an orc on the table. Because he's 2 hexes away in the blizzard, he's going to have to move 1 toward us, and we are going to move 1 toward him and begin the engagement. I will check his agility to see which one of us is going to strike first in combat. His agility is 49. It probably will not be him. Maverick's agility is 51, and Eli's agility is 88. So Eli will get to strike first. First, let's see if his warrior skill is going to kick in, if my fighter skill. He is a 60% warrior. So let's roll for that to see whether or not his warrior skill is going to play a factor in this combat. So I will use the green as the 10 die. Oh no! 95. So his warrior skill will not be available to him. Let's check on my fighter skill. I am a... What is my fighter skill? I haven't checked it in so long. My fighter skill is 67%. Now I hope that kicks in. Okay. Yes, so my fighter skill is going to be available. Eli is a thief. I don't know if we really need his thief skill. He's 45%. We'll check that. Yes, his thief skill works. So definitely I will use my fighter skill, which will allow me to strike twice in combat. I do not suffer any modifiers. And I think because of the blizzard, he is going to be suffering -10. I also get a +10 when I strike with the sword. So I think my ability right now is 90. Well, actually it's down to 87. I don't know. I think I've been poisoned or something. But with the sword, that would be 97. So unless I have something subtracting from it, the blizzard says -10 from ability in combat. Now let me check the fighter, because I don't know if weather is one we get to exclude. There's some of the things he doesn't take the modifier for. There's other things he still does. And in the revised version, I did kind of change that so that there's a few more things that the modifier would still apply to. Because I thought that was a little OP. But let's see what it says here. +10 whenever using a sword. Can strike 2 opponents at once in any round of combat. Do 5 when they're fighting alone. Do not suffer negative combat modifiers due to terrain, weather, or wounds. So, yeah, he wouldn't suffer a modifier because of any of those things in this version. Now, it says he can strike 2 opponents in 1 round of combat or 1 opponent twice. So, we're going to strike him twice. 97, that's a hit. The next one, 74, that is a hit. So, I am using a broadsword that does... Maverick's broadsword does blah blah blah. Actually, I should have rolled for Eli first because he had the highest agility. I might just have Eli do defense actions just so he doesn't get hurt. So my broadsword does -12 damage because I know it had been degraded. This guy's endurance is 88. He is wearing armor. So he has absorbed. Let's show you this here. So he is wearing armor, which is not a good sign for us. So his regular endurance is 88, but he has absorbed, is that 15? Max 75 armor. So my first strike did 12. His armor will absorb all of that. The second strike did 12, and his armor will absorb all of that, which puts him at 51. So I will let Eli strike now, even though that was a little bit out of order. It wasn't that much out of order. Eli has, I think he has a long knife and a dagger, and he can use them both together. So his long knife is a +7, and it does -6 damage. His ability is 56 +7, is 63. So that strikes. His dagger is +3, so that would give him 59. He missed with the dagger. So he did another 6 points of damage, which unfortunately the orc's armor is going to absorb all of that too. So that puts the orc's armor at 45, but his endurance is still intact. So the orc is going to strike back. His warrior skill does not work. Otherwise, he could actually strike 2 opponents in one combat. He has a +10 war club that does -8 damage. So his ability is 61 plus 10 is 71. So I don't know whether he's going to attack me or Eli. Let me read this and say who he targets. Yeah, it really doesn't say who he's going to target, so I will make a random check. 1 through 5 is me. 1 through 5 it'll be me, and the other one it'll be Eli. So I rolled a 3, so he is going to target my character. So he has a +10, 71. So he's rolling 71. We'll use the green as the 10 die again. 65. So he did hit, which would be 8 damage. But I do have my armor. So my armor absorbs up to 3 of that. And then it would absorb... So my armor, what does my armor absorb? 3, and my armor absorbs 3, and is it up to 12? Was it for padded armor? Yeah, 3 and 12. So it absorbs the first 3 of his 8, which will put it down to 9. The other 5 will come off of my endurance. So that will put me up to 32 wounds. So we will adjust the wound track. I should have used the optional combat where I could have tried to get behind this guy and do extra damage. Speaking of extra damage, no, I only do 5 extra if I'm fighting alone. Alright, so the next round of combat, I am going to attack again. I don't see any reason to defend against this guy. So again, I'm at 97. That's a hit. Second strike is a hit. So his armor will absorb all of that again. That's another 24 from his armor, putting his armor down to 21. So the next blows will start to get through to him. Let's roll for Eli. We will use the green die as the 10 die. I think Eli's first roll is 63. 56 plus 7. 63. He hits. The dagger. He hits. So that is actually another 10 points of damage. The dagger does 6, and the long knife does 6, the dagger does 3. Actually, it's another 9 points of damage. Both of which, though, will be absorbed by his armor. So he goes from 21 down to 12. So this guy's armor is practically destroyed. So he will attack. Let's see who he picks this time. 10. So this time he's going to target Eli. And I think he's not wounded though. So he does -8 with this war club. It's +10, 61, 71. He hits. So that's 8 points of damage to Eli, and Eli does not have he does not have any armor on. So Eli's endurance is normally 63. So he's 63 minus 8 would put Eli down to 55. So these can add up quick because this guy has a lot of wounds left. And this is a fight to the death. He called it, not me. Okay, so be my attack again. Well, actually, Eli had the highest agility, so I will let him go. I think he is going to choose a... Eli is going to choose a... I don't know. I'm thinking of letting him choose a defensive action, but I think this turn will actually start getting through to his armor. All right, Eli is going to choose a defensive action. And I think you can use a dagger as an offensive and defensive weapon. So we will roll. When you choose a defensive action, you simply roll the dice. We'll use the green. So that's 54. You add any of your weapons that can be used in defense, which is like a broadsword, a shield, or anything like that. In Eli's case, I think the dagger can be used as an offensive and defensive weapon. I'm trying to double check that. Where's my weapons table at? Because that'll be huge. And then I'll show you how this works in a minute. Well, it doesn't say it in there. Let me check the book. It doesn't. I don't have it on the quick sheet. So, weapons table. So here we go. So the dagger is only an offensive weapon. The only one on this table that can be used in defense is the broadsword. So he will have a 54 to his defense, but that won't come into play right now. And you can only do a defensive action every other round of combat. So next round, Eli couldn't do that. Now I will do my attack. Again, I'm at 97. That's a hit. The second attack is a hit. So that is another 24 points of damage. His armor is now destroyed. So the other 12 will come right out of his endurance. And see, what happens is once his endurance starts to get low, he will then suffer a modifier. Matter of fact, he should have been suffering a modifier because of the blizzard, which I haven't been doing. But I will do this round. So instead of him actually rolling and having 71, he's going to be with a base 61. Oh, he hits. But wait, it depends on who he was rolling at. Let me see, me or Eli. It's off the table. 5. So it was at me, and I did not choose a defensive action. So he hit. I got to give him credit. He hit. He does 8 points of damage, so that takes another 3 from my armor, bringing it down to 6, and it adds another 5 to me. So I am now at 37 wounds. Wow. Okay. So Eli basically wasted that defensive stance because the guy chose not to target him. Now, normally, like in most combats, if it says they'll fight for 4 rounds of combat, the combat probably would have been over with. But because this guy is fighting to the death, we just keep going. So he did his attack. Eli chose a defense. It will go back again to Eli because he has the highest agility. He will straight up attack this time. Eli also, though, should be subtracting 10 because of the weather. So instead of him having, what did I say he was rolling? 63? He has 56 plus 7 is 63 minus 10. He needs a 53 on this attack and a 49 on the other one. So those aren't good odds. So let's see. Oh, he rolled a 14. So that is a hit with the long knife. The dagger needs 49.
Yes, he hit with the dagger too. Whoo. So Eli, wow. So he takes another 9 off of this guy, taking him down from 76 to 67. And then, of course, my attacks, which are almost automatic, because I'm at a 97. I'm not suffering any modifier because of the weather. Fighters can fight in any condition. That's a hit. Another one. It's a hit. So that's another hit. That's another 24 points off of him, which will actually bring him below his, I think he's below half, so he will suffer a minus 20 from that. So his attack now goes from, he's at 61 minus 20, he's at a 41. He misses big time. Good. Eli will now attack. He needs a 53 with the long knife. That hits. 49 with the dagger. That misses. So he does another, he will put another 6 on him because of the long knife, taking him down to 37. I might be able to knock him unconscious this time. So I'm at a 97 hit. I'm using the red as the 10. And another hit. So that's another 24 wounds that we put on him. And he is down to 13. This guy is almost passed out. So he needs a 41. He's going out swinging hard. And he misses. Eli. 50, I think it was Eli's 53. Miss. 49. Yes, he hit with the dagger. So that actually puts him to 10, which would knock him unconscious. And then I would do the coup de grace. And that is the coup de grace. So we have defeated an orc. Wow. All right, let me do some bookkeeping and come back. Okay, I'm back. So I'll fill you in on some of the bookkeeping that I did. The first thing I did was take his 75 gold. I paid Eli back the 60 gold, which I had borrowed from him, because you remember, if you fail to do that when you have a chance, they are no longer your NPC comrades. I did adjust my armor, so its current maximum absorb is at 6, which basically shows you that, unlike most games, in this game your armor will get battered and worn down when you are in a combat. I mean, this guy was welling on it with a war club, so it's not going to hold up to much more damage. I did adjust my number of kills. So Maverick so far has 7 kills. He's had 14 total combats. He's at 57,000 XPs. He got 3,000 for that fight because he got 1,000 XPs for being in the combat, and then he got 2,000 because the orc was level 2. So if you see here, you get 1,000 per level of the opponent, and then you get there's another one on the non-combat, where you get an automatic 1,000 for just being in the fight. And this is right here. So it says you get 1,000 for engaging in individual combat. So don't forget to give yourself that, because that's, even if you lose a combat, you still get XPs for having been in that combat. You know, the number of fights and things you're in, you know, start to add up. Now, one thing that I don't know if you noticed, but this fight was actually closer than it seemed like it was going to be. I was basically not missing because of my fighter skill. But, you know, if I had not had that, you know, this could have been tricky. The other good thing was his warrior skill did not kick in. So he was only able to strike one of us. Normally with warrior skill, this guy could have been striking both of us at the same time. And he did put some wounds on Eli. So I think Eli wound up with 8 wounds from that combat. But I mean, it went over 4 rounds, so this guy could have easily done 32 wounds to Eli and myself, if he had been hitting. So, but that is important that you roll for these, because if my fighter skill hadn't have kicked in, I would have only been able to do one strike at him, and his armor was just incredible. I mean, his armor was like having an extra person in the fight. So, always make a note of that, when you get into these combats, pay attention, because you may think they're going to go one way and they may actually wind up going a whole nother way, because, there's always little factors that you might not think are going to make a big difference, but they can make a very big difference in a game like this. The blizzard also helped a lot because it kind of impeded his ability, to make successful strikes. But having done all that, I think we did. I'm glad we picked up his gold. I already moved when we engaged him in the combat, so I don't get to move another one. I subtracted our food for today. I think the only thing I didn't record is Eli's wound, so I will do that. Then we will start the next day. Okay, I'm ready to pull the weather card for day 3. I'm kind of nervous because I don't know if I can take many more combats without getting some serious rest or a healing potion. So what is the weather? Strong winds. Roll on the random direction chart. So once again, we have a chance of picking up some speed. So I rolled a 5 this time. Hopefully that's somewhere where we're heading. I know it's not south, because 10 was south. So let's see. 5 is east. So that means if we head this way, we could add 2. Which, where's Morsh Monastery at? Oh, Morsh Monastery is down here, which is where I want to be heading. So if we're going to head to the monastery, that is heading east. We could go east and south. So that would actually allow us to go 1, 2, 3, 4, which would actually be very nice. And then we could cut south, or we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, long as we're bearing east. So I think we might take advantage of that. I do have to roll for, see if we have another encounter. Which, when you're traveling in the open like this, you're usually going to have encounters. So we will use the red. 37, so that is an encounter. That's why I tried not to travel a lot when I was by myself. So let's see what we get. Oh, the Taskmaster. This is the mighty Taskmaster. If you are on a quest or mission, he will automatically join you until it is completed. However, at the end of his service to you, in turn, you must do him a service by returning with him to this hex. If you are not on a quest or refuse to allow him to join you, roll on the NPC reaction table and minus 10 from your roll. If you refuse to return him after the quest, he will attack and fight to the death. So it says if I'm not on a quest, or I refuse to, or I do not allow him to join me, I roll and subtract 10 on the NPC reaction table. I wonder why it says subtract 10. I mean, what problem does he have with people? But I will roll on it. So we'll use the... Now, I was about to say the black, and then I've changed it to the red. So we'll roll over. We will use the black. Ah! Oh, my goodness. 12 minus 10. That is not a good result. I can already tell you that. That is not a good result, and I really do not want to have to fight this guy. So we may be doing some serious fleeing. I do not want to fight the friggin' Taskmaster. 0, 1 through 18. NPC is hostile. They will attack and fight for 4 rounds of combat. Okay, so this is the Taskmaster. And, we are going to have to fight him whether we want to or not. I would much rather he had joined us. I don't know what we did to piss this guy off, but he's 1 hex away, which I will put him right there. If I can get this to focus. And the good thing is it says he would only fight for 4 rounds of combat. Now, I could actually try to flee, me and Eli, or we could stand our ground. Let's see what he brings to the table, which I'm sure is a lot. This guy is formidable. He has a plus 11 longsword that does minus 12 damage. Absorb 20, maximum absorb 80, full plate armor. He has a 60% pistol, rate 1, range of 4. He has 10 minus 5 damage rounds. And he has 70% warrior skill. Oh my goodness. The guy's ability is 88. His endurance is 87. Dang. I really don't want to be fighting this guy. So we could flee. We would get +2 because we'd have the wind at our back. You know, if we fled east. The problem is he might be able to catch us because he'd get +2 as well, and we'd have to pass him. Whereas if we went the opposite way, if we cut down south, we could make our normal move, which would be 1, 2, and then he's 1 hex away, so he'd have to go 1, 2. He could actually get both of us right there. So I don't really know if we could get away without him getting the strike in. So we may have to fight him for these 4 rounds of combat and just hope we're still in one piece. Oh, Lord. I should have kept that first row. Yeah, I should have kept that first row. My armor is totally depleted. This guy is a warrior, so he can strike both of us. At minus 12 damage, the pistol. I mean, this guy in 4 rounds of combat could put like 48 wounds on me. Actually, he could put 48 wounds on both of us. And I don't even think we're going to dent his armor. This guy has 80 armor. And his armor absorbs 20 points of wounds. So everything we throw at him will be getting absorbed by his armor. Alright, let me think about this. Alright, I'm back. So I've been thinking about a lot of scenarios, and the only one that makes sense is to go ahead and fight this guy. But I am not going to get in a stand-up fight with him. Instead, what I think I am going to do is I am going to use a lot of my defensive abilities, me and Eli. So we have to survive 4 rounds. So we might as well get started. He is at a distance from us, so he can actually fire his gun before we can engage or close on him. He can only fire once, so I will see who he shoots at. Well, actually it says he can strike 2 opponents in combat, so I guess he could fire once at me and once at Eli. He's got 10 rounds. So I will do a shot at me at 60% using the green die. See if he hits me with his shot as I close in. 61, he missed. See if he hits Eli. 24, he does hit Eli. Dang. So that does 5 more points of damage to Eli, who is still wounded from the last time. So that puts his endurance at 50. So we can now close, because that's what you should always remember. If somebody has a ranged weapon, they are allowed to fire it before you closing them in combat, because basically their combat can begin. Then once you close on them, it's back to close combat, and then you go by who has the highest agility. His is 74, which I think is higher than mine. Mine is 51. Eli's is 88. So Eli will get to strike first. Or, matter of fact, me and Eli both are going to choose a defense action. So I will roll for Eli's defensive score using we will use the green. 81. That's a very good defensive score. I will roll for my defensive score because Eli's at an 81. See what I get. 51, plus I can use my broadsword, which adds 10, which puts me at a 61. So then I'll show you how this works. First, let's see if his warrior skill's even going to kick in. He is a 70% warrior. 38. So he definitely has his warrior skill available. But now he does his attack. He has a plus 11 broad longsword. So that's 88, 98, 99. Right? That's 99 that this guy would strike with as a warrior. That sucks. But you minus 81 from that because Eli chose a defense. So 81, 91, 99. He only has an 18% chance of hitting Eli. And he misses. As for me, I rolled a 61, 71, 81, 91. He has a 38% chance of hitting me. Using the green again. Oh, he did hit me. Wow. So how much damage does his longsword do? It does minus 12. So my armor will absorb 3. The other 9, I think, will destroy my armor, which was at 6. So then that means I will take 6 more points of damage. And my padded armor is gone. He just shredded it off of me. So I am erasing that. That sucked. That sucked bad. So 6 more points of damage will put me at 43 wounds. So I now have 43 wounds, but that is the end of the first round of combat. So we will now go to round 2 of the combat, and in this round we can't choose any defense. You can only do that every other round. So Eli will attack. He's at 63 with his long knife. He hits. I think he's at 59 with his dagger, and he hits. So that does some damage to his armor. None of that is going to get through. His armor is friggin' 80, absorbs 20, but that takes 9 away. So that puts his armor at 71. I will now get my strikes. I'm at 97. My broadsword does 12. That's a hit. 99. That's a miss. Oh my lord. This combat is going awful. So he does take another 12 down from his armor. So that puts him at 59. His armor at 59 at least. But now he gets to do a strike against me and Eli. So his attack against Eli, he hits. His attack against me, and he hits. So Eli is going to take 12 wounds from that sword strike, which will put him down to 38. Oh, that hurt. I take 12 because my armor's gone, which will put me up to 55 wounds. Woo! So that is the end of the second round of combat. We are now heading into the third round of combat. So we got 2 more rounds to go. Eli is definitely going to choose a defensive action again. Rolled 63. I will choose a defensive action. Oh my lord. 0, 1 plus 10. I've only rolled an 11. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So he attacks Eli. 99 minus 63. So he only has a 36% chance. He misses. He attacks me. 99 minus 11 is what? 88. Ah, he hit with 80. So I take another 12 points of damage, which puts me up to 66 wounds. So that is the end of the third round of combat. We are now beginning the fourth and final round of combat. We cannot choose a defensive action this round. So, man, I am battered. This Taskmaster is just vicious. Well, I don't think there's anything we can do. If we flee, he's going to get a free strike anyway. But I think it would be at a minus 20. And that would be the end of the fourth round. Let me check that, because I do want to see if it's a free strike. Then I think I might try to evade. If it's, I mean, if he takes a negative modifier, heck, he might not even follow us. You know, maybe he's gotten his bloodlust out. And these guys with armor, man, whenever you encounter somebody wearing a lot of armor, that is not a good look, to have to battle somebody loaded with armor. Where is the modifiers? Let me check my quick reference table. See if it's in here. Shields, hand weapons, troop results, experience. Armor chart, ratio modifiers, combat modifiers. Opponent has made an evade action. Yeah, actually, he was supposed to -5 because he's wearing armor. So I didn't even do that. So yeah, we are now going to evade. And the reason I'm doing it now is because this is the fourth round of combat. If we had evaded earlier and he had caught us, as I showed you, he would still have been able to do 4 rounds of combat on us and we couldn't evade again. This time we are now actually going to evade. We use 1 to close on him. So because of the weather, our movement rate is actually 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we will go there. And again, me and Eli are technically in the same hex. So he will turn this way. The first thing I need to do is see whether or not he's going to pursue us. He will get a free strike, I think, but let me verify that, because there's one where they either pursue you and get the free strike, or they just take the free strike and then they leave. So that could be very important. Yeah, that could be the difference between living and dying. I just can't sit here and take another 12 wounds from this guy. You know, I mean, I knew going into this fight it wasn't going to end well. All right, let me look that up. I'll be back. Okay, so what it says here is, instead of pursuing an opponent who evades out of combat, a character may choose instead to take a free strike. So only 1 free strike is allowed. However, if a character or NPC has a missile weapon that can still reach a fleeing opponent, Lord, he can continue to attack the opponent until the opponent gets out of range or he runs out of ammo. He still cannot move, however, and regardless of the missile weapon's range, the combat will be considered over the next day. Holy cow. So he could actually just sit back there and just keep shooting at us. He has 8 rounds left. But fortunately still, he would only fight for 4 rounds of combat. So let's see if he's even going to pursue. So my luck, it's going to be based on my luck, which I think is 41. 77. So he will pursue us, which means he's not going to stand back there and get a free strike. Instead, he's going to close in here, which basically keeps him adjacent to us. So he will get a strike, but now he's at -20. Plus, he should have had -5 for wearing his armor. We cannot choose a defensive action because we ran. So basically, we just got to take these hits. So he's at 88, 99 -20 for Eli is 79, -5 is 74. So let's do Eli first with 74. He hit Eli for 12. Oh, that's bloody. That's brutal. So Eli is down to 26 endurance. And then let's do me at 74. He missed. Yes. Yes, he missed. And that will end the combat. The Taskmaster has had enough. He's decided to show some mercy on us, and he leaves. Woo! What a combat. Oh my goodness. I mean, that really wore us out. You know what? And we're not even nowhere near a town or anywhere. We may have to sit here in this hex and rest for quite a while to get our strength back up. Because that, I mean, we took some grievous wounds in that combat, especially Eli. I mean, his endurance is down to 26. So I definitely have to stop and give him a chance to rest and recuperate. We got 10 days worth of food, not counting today. So we should be okay as it comes to food. Hopefully some of the cards for resting and healing will come up soon. I will probably shuffle the weather deck at the end of this week. But wow, that was brutal. I gotta be honest. That was a very brutal combat. But that's what happens when you travel, which is why I always say you try not to ever travel alone. Man, I have 66 wounds. That's how many wounds I have. My character's endurance is only 98. So, I mean, what is my endurance at with 66 wounds? That leaves me at 32. My actual endurance is 32 right now. So, I mean, we are in very pathetic shape. Yeah, that was brutal. I was not trying to make an enemy of the Taskmaster. Yeah. And I mean, you know, I'm a fighter. This guy, I was hardly even missing. I don't think I did actually roll a 99 once and miss. Anyway, I think I'm going to call that an episode, folks. So, you got to see some extended combats in this game, and hopefully it gave you some ideas. You notice in this combat, we actually fought him for a few rounds to kind of wear him down, and then we ran. Because you can evade it anytime you want. I also showed you how important it is to use your defensive actions. Even though you can only do them every other round, believe me, Eli would be dead if he had not done those defensive actions, which basically greatly thwarted his attacks, because he went straight into defensive mode, was subtracting 60 or 70 from his normal attack. I rolled bad on one of mine, or I'd actually be in a little better shape. But it is what it is. That's the fun thing about playing this game. I mean, you can encounter one character and kind of roll over them, or think you're gonna roll over them, you know, only to find out that, man, this guy or this gal is pretty formidable. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We have made some progress. At least we are no longer bogged down in Dwarf Town. We have basically went almost to the other side of the map. And I think we're going to start heading south. But more than anything, I think we're going to stay here a few days and rest and heal up, which you guys don't need to see that. I will update you on it. Take care. My name is Maverick. I'm from the town of Milesdale, and I live in the Overland. The Overland is a dangerous place. You never know what you will run into, and you never know what you will find. When at all possible, never ever travel alone. And when all else fails,
It's better to run and live to fight another day. And in the end, if you have faith, hope will light your way. Run for now, young maverick. Your destiny lies ahead, and we shall